The FBI in Peace and War. Another great story based on Frederick L. Collins' copyrighted book, The FBI in Peace and War. Drama, thrills, action. Tonight's transcribed story, The Mail Order Man.
James G. Ellery, acknowledged by his fellow conmen as one of the sharpest swindlers in the business, was working the Midwestern states during the summer of 1954 and was doing very well at his racket. With the emblem of a large mail-order house painted on the door of his car, Ellery would enter a fair-sized town, select a likely sucker, and deliver his pitch.
And then he said, would you be interested in selling this property, Mr. Maple? And I said, you mean sell my store? The whole business? And he said, that's what I mean, the whole business.
Oh, my.
And I said, well, what would Johnson, Bailey and Company want with a little grocery business like this? And he said, now, look, I'll be frank with you, Mr. Maple. What we want is this corner property. And I said, oh, you mean you just want the building? And he said, no, we don't want the building.
Well, what do they want?
They want this location, Verna, so as they can put up a Johnson, Bailey and Company retail store.
Right here? On this corner?
Uh-huh. And we could rent that place across the street and still stay in business. And, Verna...
Yes?
You're not going to believe this because I didn't either. They're willing to pay $45,000 if they buy this corner.
40?
$5,000 if they buy it. He said they're considering either this corner or one other location.
40?
$5,000.
For this corner?
Uh-huh.
You mean they'd give
Uh-huh.
us... Oh, my.
And the man is coming back in a couple of days.
Which man?
The man from Johnson, Bailey and Company, to find out if we want to sell, in case they want to buy.
If we want to sell?
Yes, I said I'd never do anything without consulting my wife.
Oh, Norman, for $45,000, why...
Well, I know, but this property's been in the family since 1912. It's our living, and we got a store rent-free.
But if we had all that money...
I know. We could do some of those things we've always been saying we were going to do, like,
Grand Canyon.
Uh-huh. And,
Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
And Boulder Dam. And the Petrified Forest. And Las Vegas. And the Pasadena Festival of Roses.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Norman, I just thought.
What?
Alfred.
We won't tell him.
He'll find out. He finds out everything.
Well, we'll say it's none of his business.
But real estate is his business.
Well, we'll tell him we've made up our minds.
Oh, he'll unmake our minds. Oh, Norman, I wish he wasn't my brother. If he was only my sister...
Well, he isn't. But you know what I'm going to say this time? I'm going to say...
It won't do any good.
Well, I know it won't, but I'm going to say it anyway.
He's invited himself to dinner tonight.
I'm going to say, Alfred, you may be Verna's brother, and you may be related to me by marriage, and you may have had 16 years' experience in the real estate business, but we've made up our minds, Alfred. If Johnson, Bailey and Company want to buy our property for $45,000, we're going to sell it.
So you're going to sell it?
Yes, we are, Alfred. We've made up our minds.
You're going to sell this valuable corner property for $45,000.
Alfred.
Don't interrupt, Verna.
Alfred, last year you said you wouldn't give $12,000 for this property. You said the business trend was away from this section of the town.
Oh, you're wrong. What I said was...
No, you did say that, Alfred. Now, I remember distinctly.
What I said was the business trend is away from this section. But if some big outfit was real smart, they'd come in here, reestablish the values, and reverse the trend.
You said no such thing.
Can I have some more meat?
Well, anyway, we've made up our minds.
And a little gravy, please.
We've decided...
That's fine, thanks. You decided to let this corner go at a sacrifice without consulting me, even though I'm in the business.
No, that's not so. We simply decided...
Well, did you consult me?
Alfred.
You didn't, did you? I got a background of 16 years' experience in this real estate business. I've handled properties in every part of this state.
How about some more asparagus, Alfred?
I'm considered one of the most accurate appraisers in this
Potatoes?
area. In fact, I was twice voted the most aggressive salesman in the
Some more
entire
iced
county.
tea, Alfred?
And you decide to sell your property for a lousy $45,000 when you can easily get 60. I think I will have some more iced tea.
Did you say 60?
I did?
And last year you said...
Never mind what I said last year. If I'm going to handle this deal for you...
Who said anything about...
Well, certainly you're not going to let them take advantage of you. I mean, after
Oh,
all...
Alfred, please keep out of this. Let them jip us if they want to.
Verna, I'm ashamed.
No, what she meant, Alfred...
I know what she meant. She'd rather throw $15,000 down the drain than let me help her.
It isn't that, Alfred.
Oh, yes, it
No,
is.
it isn't. I only meant...
It's all
that-
right, Verna. Fortunately, I'm not oversensitive. I'll handle this thing for you without commission. However, I will make one stipulation.
Alfred, we don't want you to waste your time. Honest, we don't.
I'll make this one stipulation. I'll be allowed to have any corollary benefits that accrue from the negotiations, if any.
Alfred.
Now, when is this man coming back to see you, the one from Johnson Bailey?
Well, I don't know, really. I mean, he said
Well, it's
that...
not important. I just wanted to know, so I'll have my plan of action.
Alfred.
Verna, stop worrying, will you? I'm taking care of this. They're not going to put anything over on you. That much I can guarantee.
Our best lead on Ellery came from a purchase agreement that he left with one of his victims. We traced the legal form this was written on to a stationery store where the clerk recognized Ellery's picture. The clerk told us that he had recommended a public stenographer to Ellery, and our next step was to interview the young lady, whose name was Miss Gladys Fisher.
He's a what?
A swindler. He served more than 10 years in jail.
Jim? Mr. Hillary?
That's right.
He hasn't got anything to do with that mail order company?
Nothing at all.
Oh, how do you like that? And him taking me to the palm room and throwing this great big line of baloney. Boy, I'd like to get my hands on that character.
When did you see Ellery last, Miss Fisher?
I don't remember. About a month ago. He said he was going to make a western swing, and he'd call me when he got back. Boy, I wish he'd take a swing from the top of some lamppost, believe me.
But he did say he'd call you.
Yeah.
Miss Fisher, we're going to ask you to cooperate with our bureau and get in touch with us immediately if Ellery calls you. Would you do that?
Here's our phone number, Miss Fisher.
You mean that I should turn in, Mr. Ellery?
This man is a criminal, Miss Fisher.
Well, yeah, I know, but...
I gather he did misrepresent himself to you, Miss Fisher.
Oh, you're not kidding, but I'd feel kind of funny.
You said you wasted all this time on him.
Yeah, I did. Okay, give me a card. If he calls me, I'll call you. That swindler.
Having made arrangements with Miss Fisher, we followed a number of dead-end leads on the elusive Jim Ellery. While we were doing this, Ellery had completed the first step in taking a new victim.
And then what did he say?
Well, he said it was definitely between our location and this other place, and they'd decide in a few days.
Yeah, I know the other place. It's that corner on 6th and Walnut.
Oh, Alfred.
Now, listen, don't tell me it isn't. I know what's going on around this town. What else did he say?
Well, that's about all. Verna invited him to have a cup of coffee, so we sat around and talked a while.
Talked? About what?
Groceries, mostly.
Grocery. Why in heaven's name didn't you call me? I could have come here and pinned him down.
Well, we thought that...
I could have given him the traffic count on that 6th and Walnut corner and showed him how this place is twice as active.
Last year you said...
Never mind what I said last year. This is this year. Is he still here in town?
Yeah, at the commercial house.
Alfred.
You'd only let me know he was coming.
Well, we didn't know ourselves.
He said he has personal business here, so he came a few days early.
Personal business?
Yeah, he wants to buy a couple of lots out in that new development. He says he hasn't got the cash right now.
That's it. That's the key to the whole thing.
Alfred.
He's looking for his cut, don't you see? That's how they all work.
What are you talking about?
Oh, it's plain as day. Don't you get it?
No, I don't.
Look, he says that his company will either buy your place or the 6th and Walnut location. Then, right in the next breath, he says he needs money to do a little business on his own.
You mean that...
Of course I do. All he gets is a salary from Johnson and Bailey. They all take something on the side to swing a deal one way or another.
You mean a bride?
Verna, don't be silly. Listen, Norman, we've got this guy right where we want him. He's opened his whole hand.
Alfred.
We'll not only sell him this property, but we'll get $60,000 for it. You wait and see. What's the phone number of the commercial house? 2100, isn't it?
Alfred, please, please, keep out of this.
Keep out. Verna, I'm going to make you and Norman a pile of dough in spite of everything. Hello, commercial house. I'd like to speak to Mr. James Ellery, please. Mr. Alfred Walker calling.
Several weeks after our visit to Miss Fisher, she received a postcard from Ellery. But it was sent from Indianapolis and merely said that he was trying to wind up some business and would see her soon. As we found later, the business he was winding up concerned a retail grocer named Norman Maple and his brother-in-law, Alfred Walker.
Yes, that's true, Mr. Walker. We are considering a location in that section of town, too.
I've got even money. It's that piece on 6th and Walnut.
Well, it could be. How about another drop of scotch?
I don't mind if I do.
May I say one thing, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, what's that?
Real estate-wise, you're a pretty shrewd article.
I get by.
I'll bet you do. Say when.
Yeah, that's fine.
Soda?
No, thanks. I want my head clear when we really get down to business.
Oh, I see. We aren't down to business now.
Do you think so?
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
All right, we'll put our cards right on the table. My brother-in-law says you're interested in buying a couple of lots here in town, but you're a little short of cash. Is that right?
Well, we were only chatting casually.
Oh, Mr. Ellery, let's cut out the preliminaries. How much were those lots you wanted to buy?
$4,200.
Oh, must be pretty nice lots.
Oh, yes, they are.
You, couldn't get them any cheaper?
No.
I see. All right, you drive a hard bargain, Mr. Ellery, but I'll tell you what we'll do. If Johnson and Bailey buy my brother-in-law's place for $60,000, we'll see that you have enough cash to invest in some local real estate.
$60,000.
Worth every cent of it. I'll show you the traffic figures for that area.
I don't think I could sell my people on that price, Mr. Walker.
I'll bet you could if you tried.
Well,
Of course, if you think it's totally unreasonable.
Oh, no. I didn't say that.
I didn't think you would. Let's face it, Mr. Ellery. You and I have been around a bit. We know how these things can be handled, right?
Yes, I guess we do.
I tell you what, here's my office phone. When you sell your people on the deal, let me know.
Now, I can't promise anything.
Oh, that's all right. We don't promise anything either, but if you need $4,200, we may know where to get it.
Verna,
Yes?
you asleep?
Not now, I'm not.
You know, I was thinking, Verna, $4,200 is a lot of money.
I know it is.
We'd have to take a loan someplace.
I know we would.
But if we sold the store for $60,000,
We could take that trip.
yes, we could.
It's a real pretty trip.
I know it is.
Emily Hanson was out to the Petrified Forest, and she bought this beautiful pair of bookends made out of stone. Only thing, they were really wood.
She did, huh?
They were $12.
Well, I guess you spend a lot of money on a trip like that.
Yeah, I guess you do. But it doesn't matter much if you got it.
No, not if you got it.
Norman,
Yeah?
Alfred's usually wrong. But do you suppose he's right this time? I mean, that it's all right to buy these lots for Mr. Ellery so as we can sell our place?
That's what Alfred says.
I know what he says.
Actually, we're not buying lots for Mr. Ellery. We're giving him the $4,200 in cash.
That makes it worse, doesn't it?
I don't think so, really.
You think maybe Alfred's right for once?
We could be.
I guess he could be at that.
And if we sold the store in the next month, we'd have time to take our trip this summer.
I guess we would.
$4,200 isn't much alongside $60,000.
Well, no, not when you look at it that way, it isn't.
Well, we'll talk about it in the morning, huh?
All right, Norman.
Night.
Night.
Oh, I shouldn't drink coffee before bed. Keeps me awake every time.
When Ellery's latest victims were properly set up, Gladys Fisher received a long-distance phone call at her office one afternoon. The call was from Waynesboro, Indiana.
Yeah, I'll hold on.
Hello, Gladys?
Who is this, please?
Oh, Gladys, you can't have forgotten already. Why, it seems only yesterday.
Jim.
That's better. How are you, Gladys?
Oh, I'm fine, Jim. Where are you? How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. And where I am is a place called Waynesboro, Indiana. Did you ever hear of it?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, look, Gladys, do you remember that purchase agreement you typed up for me last time I was there?
Yeah, sure.
Would you be an angel and do one more set? I'll fill in the figures and names.
Sure. Where do you want me to send it?
The Commercial House, Waynesboro. And the sooner the better, Gladys.
I'll have 'em in the mail this afternoon.
Oh, you're a wonderful girl. The minute I finish this trip, I'm coming up to see you.
Well, that'll be fine, Jim.
You miss me?
I'll say I did by a mile.
Well, I'll be back, Gladys, and thanks a million.
Don't mention it.
Shall I bring you a little surprise when I see you?
All right, and I may have one for you.
Bye, Gladys.
Bye, Jimmy.
As soon as Gladys Fisher hung up the phone after talking with Ellery, she called our bureau. Within minutes, Agent Reynolds and I were headed for the Commercial House in Waynesboro, Indiana.
So I said to him, Waynesboro's on the move, Mr. Ellery. If you want my honest opinion, I think we're giving away this property at $60,000.
How do you mean we, Alfred?
Well, Verna, I know that you and Norman haven't got much ready cash around, and I figured, why should we let this thing out of the family? So I thought I might kind of come in on it by furnishing the capital. How do you feel about that, Norman?
Well,
What would you get out of it, Alfred?
The satisfaction of a perfectly executed deal.
The what?
Oh, it's something you wouldn't understand, Verna. Norman knows what I mean. It's me, Alfred Walker, versus one of the biggest mail-order houses in the country. David versus...
How much does that add up to in cash, Alfred?
That's my Verna. Look, give me whatever you think I deserve for the extra $15,000 I'm getting you, and that's all I ask.
Alfred.
Anything you say. Half will do.
Alfred.
I mean, it isn't the money. It's the satisfaction.
Alfred,
Yes?
we'd rather you didn't give us the money, Alfred.
Yeah, I know that, Verna. And I know you two innocent babes would let this deal walk out the door, so I just took the liberty of coming in anyway.
What?
I paid Mr. Ellery the $4,200 an hour ago. Here's your purchase agreement. All you have to do is sign on the dotted line.
You paid him.
That's right. I gave him a certified check. There's a time for words, and there's a time for action. And one thing I pride myself on, Verna, I know which is which.
We arrested James Ellery in the dining room of the Commercial House at 7 o'clock of the same day. In Ellery's room, we found a certified check signed Alfred Walker. We called at Walker's apartment, found he was visiting his sister for dinner. Soon, Walker, his sister, and his brother-in-law were told the truth about James Ellery.
And he'll be arraigned in the morning. We'll expect all three of you to be at the Federal Building.
We'll be there.
You had a close call, Mr. Walker.
Yes, I know I did.
Oh, if you have that purchase agreement, Mr. Maple, we'd like to have that, please.
Here it is.
Thanks. Well, see you all tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Reynolds.
Alfred,
Norman, I'm surprised at you. Really, I am.
surprised at me.
For what, Alfred?
For putting me in this embarrassing position.
Putting you in it? Wasn't it your idea?
It was my idea to perform a simple act of kindness. I didn't think I'd become involved with a swindler.
Well, surely you don't think that we...
Frankly, I don't know what to think, Verna. If either of you had taken the elementary precaution of checking this man with Johnson and Bailey.
If either of us...
Don't get upset.
A phone call would have done it. Naturally, I'd assumed you'd taken care of that, so...
Alfred Walker, you're going to make me so angry, I'm going to tell you to go right straight home this minute.
You don't have to tell me, Verna. I'm going.
All the nervy things to say. You were the one.
All right, Verna, I'm willing to be a good sport, but let me ask you one thing for the future. Never, Verna, solicit my advice on any business transaction from this time forward. Never. Is that clear?
Well, of all
No, Verna, he's right. We did take advantage of his generosity.
What?
Good night, Alfred, and please don't be angry with us. We promise you faithfully we'll never ask your advice again. Never. Good night, Alfred.
Good night, Norman. Good night, Verna. The fried chicken was very good, even if I didn't finish it.
Norman,
Yes?
you don't think he actually means that? He'll never give us any advice again?
I'm sure he does.
Never?
That's what he said.
Oh, my, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I think it would.
You wouldn't mind being almost swindled if that happened, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
Of course, it's too bad we won't take our trip.
Well, maybe we will someday.
Maybe. No more advice from Alfred. Goodness, how are we ever going to get along without him?
James Ellery was convicted on numerous counts of fraud and sentenced to 3 years in prison. We understand from the warden that Ellery is a model prisoner and will be out soon. We hope he's reformed, but just in case he hasn't, it will be well for businessmen with good store locations to beware of the mail order man.
What does the code of conduct mean to the American military man? For one thing, it means coordination. Like a machine which depends on all its parts working together to ensure smooth operation, a military unit depends on the cooperation of every man if it is to be successful. Marcus Aurelius, one of the world's greatest military experts, put it this way: "We soldiers are born for cooperation, as are the feet, the hands, the eyelids, and the upper and lower jaws." And he was right. One cannot work successfully without the other. Each man must be responsible for his own actions, knowing that how he conducts himself affects the actions and well-being of others. That's what the code means to the American military man.
In tonight's transcribed story, Paul McGrath played the part of James Ellery. Alan Hewitt was Alfred Walker. This radio dramatization for the FBI in Peace and War was written by Louis Pelletier. These programs are produced and directed by Betty Mandeville. All names and characters used on the program are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. This program is based upon Frederick L. Collins' copyrighted book, The FBI in Peace and War, and the broadcast does not imply endorsement, authorization, or approval by the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.